Why doesn't thought give up something which it knows or is aware that it is painful?
Yes.
It is destructive. Why? Go on, and why? So let's take a simple example.
Mm-hmm.
Psychologically, one is hurt.
Yeah. Well, that's later.
No, I'm taking that as an
Yeah.
example, later example, doesn't matter later on. One is hurt. Why can't one immediately give up that hurt? Because knowing that hurt is going to create great deal of damage. That is, when I'm hurt, I build a wall around myself, not to be hurt more. There is fear and isolation, neurotic actions, all that follow. Why? Hurt is the image. Thought has created the image about myself, and that image gets hurt. Why doesn't thought say, yes, but I've seen this, drop it immediately? Right?
Yeah.
It's the same question.
Yes.
Because when it drops the image, there's nothing left.
Yes. Well, then you have another ingredient, because you say thought wants to hold on to the memory of the image, right?
Hold on to the memories which have created the image.
And which may create it again.
Yeah.
And thought feels they are very precious.
Yes, they're very precious, nostalgic, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, so somehow it gives very high value to all that.
Yes.
How did it come to do that?
Why has it made the image so valuable?
Yeah.
Why has the image become so important, which thought has created?
You see, if I may say, in the beginning it was a simple mistake, and thought made an image of pleasure. And it seemed that it became very important, precious.
Yes.
And was unable to give it up.
Yes. Why doesn't it? So if I give up pleasure, if thought gives up pleasure, what is there left?
Yes, it can't seem to return to the state in the beginning, you see, when there was nothing.
That is the pristine state. That is
it is unable to return to that
state.
state.
Can't, because thought has, all the rest of it.
Yes. Well, I think that what happens is that when thought thinks of giving up pleasure, which has become very precious, then the mere thought of that is painful.
Yes, giving up is painful.
And therefore thought runs away from that.
Yes, so it clings to pleasure.
Yeah. It does not wish to face the pain.
Till there is a better reward for pleasure.
Well, then that's
which will be greater pleasure.
That's no change, is it?
No, but of course.
The thought seems to have fallen into a trap which it has made, because it has innocently remembered pleasure and then gradually made it important.
Of course.
And then it has become too painful to
give it up.
Because any change from immediate removal of pleasure is very painful.
Because it is nothing else then afterwards. There's fright.
Yeah. Well, then it wants, but you see, it is, in the beginning it was not frightened to have nothing else.
Yes.
Now it is.
Yes. In the beginning, that means beginning being the beginning of man.
Yeah.
In the beginning of man, can we question even that?
Perhaps not, but I mean...
A beginning of the ape.
If you go far enough back. But then you want to say it's been going a long time, but thought has built this trap, which has gradually got worse.
So could we say, as the brain is very old, all our brains are very old, merely tracing it back further and further and further and further, you can't ever find out.
Yeah, so
but I can say, but my brain is now as it is, which is very old, conditioned in terms of pleasure and pain.
Yes. They say that the old brain is also the emotional part of the brain.
Of course, emotional and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Sensory. So So where are we now?
Well, we say that this brain has conditioned itself by continual remembering the image of pleasure with the unpleasantness of giving it up in the fear.
So it clings to something which it knows.
Which it knows and which is very precious to it.
But it doesn't know that it's going to breed fear.
But even when it knows, it still
But it
clings.
much rather run away from fear, hoping the pleasure will continue.
Yeah. But I think eventually it starts to become irrational because, you see, it creates the pressures which make the brain irrational and unable to get this straight.
Yes. Yeah, where are we now at the end of this? We started out, so don't we,
Yes.
Dr. Bohm, that is there an action in which there is no motive, no cause, the self doesn't enter into it at all? Of course there is. There is when the self is not. And this, which means no identifying process takes place. I see there is a perceiving of a lake with all the color, the glory and the beauty of it. And that's enough. Not the memory, cultivating memory, which is developed through the identification process. Right?
But see, the question always raises the question, how are we going to stop this identification? You see that?
I don't think there is a how.
Right, what will we
See,
do, right?
that which means meditation,
Yeah, I understand.
control,
Yeah.
practice. And that way makes the mind mechanical, dull, forgive me, I'm not, and literally incapable of receiving anything new.
If it imitates, if it just imitates, this is precisely what happens.
What?
If these practices are done with imitation.
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 That means if that practice becomes an imitation,
then it is a
the
terrible
mind-
conditioning.
Then mind is mechanical.
What do you mean imitation?
If you tell me, if I may make it very simple, just 3 times a day put your hand on the floor and something will
And you
happen.
do it.
And I do it. I do not think about it. I do not inquire about it. I do not say, why? Now what happens? Why should I? If I do not question it, if I just mechanically do it, nothing will happen. I'll get only more and more fuzzy.
Yes,
but
but
if I inquire into it, why? What for?
Why
What is
should-
my
no,
reaction?
my question is, I have listened to somebody who says, put your hand there, and then I begin to inquire. But I don't accept anybody telling me I must put my hand there. Then I don't have to inquire. Do you remember that famous story of a guru? He had a favorite cat.
Yes.
And he had many disciples. So every morning, before they all started meditation, he caught hold of the cat, put it on his lap, and meditated. And when he died, the disciples had to search around for a cat.
Yes.